Howdy! In the previous video, we introduced Baddeley and Hitch's model of working memory as an alternative to Atkinson-Shiffrin's multi-store model of memory. We looked at the four major components of the working memory model: the central executive, the visuospatial sketchpad, the phonological loop, and the episodic buffer. But what we didn't do, and what we're doing in this video, is to look at how those systems combine in the scary thing that I like to call real life. We will look at how to answer SAC and exam questions on working memory. So if you're not familiar with the working memory model, consider watching the preceding video before this one. VCA may test your knowledge on this topic in a couple of different ways. Firstly, you may be given a multiple choice question. These can sometimes be tricky. For example, here is one from the 2013 VCA exam. Bob's job as a tennis umpire requires him to store and retrieve memories quickly. The component of his working memory that is responsible for storing and representing the information about the rules of the game that he retrieves from long-term memory is the A. Episodic buffer, B. Central executive, C. Phonological loop, or D. Visuospatial sketchpad. A lot of students would get mixed up here because the rules of the game may have initially been visual, which would suggest the visuospatial sketchpad, or auditory, which would suggest the phonological loop. And because the central executive is responsible for some important functions, that may initially seem a viable option too. Only just over half of the students in 2013 accurately identified the episodic buffer as the correct response. Remember, the episodic buffer is the link between long-term memory and working memory, which is the crucial aspect of this question. The good thing about multiple choice questions is that even if you have absolutely no idea what the correct response is, you still have a 25% chance of accurately identifying it through nothing but chance. But short answer questions aren't quite so good in this regard. Have a look at this question, also from the 2013 VCA exam. Mr. Simpson was speaking over the phone to Mrs. Davis, who is the mother of his student, John. He was looking at John's report and summarising the information for Mrs. Davis, who had been unable to attend the parent-teacher interview. Mrs. Davis listened carefully while Mr. Simpson spoke. Identify two components of Baddeley and Hitch's model of working memory. Then, explain the role of each of these components with respect to Mr. Simpson's and Mrs. Davis' working memory. This is a considerable question. It's worth a pretty significant 6 marks. That would be 2 marks for identifying two components of Baddeley and Hitch's model of working memory, 2 marks for explaining those components with respect to Mr. Simpson, and 2 marks for explaining those components with respect to Mrs. Davis. Well, we'll just look at Mr. Simpson for now, but a full suggested response is available below this video. So we could say something like this. One component of Baddeley and Hitch's model of working memory is the phonological loop. Mr. Simpson would use the phonological loop by mentally practicing, sub-vocalizing what he was planning to say to Mrs. Davis. He would internally rehearse what he was going to say before doing so. Another component of the model of working memory is the central executive. Mr. Simpson would use his central executive to make decisions regarding what information to divulge. The central executive would allow Mr. Davis to focus on what was important and filter out irrelevant information. To achieve the remaining 2 marks, we would need to relate both the phonological loop and the central executive to Mrs. Davis. For a recap of Baddeley and Hitch's model of working memory, see the information below this video. Keep working hard and happy studying.